All right, let's do this. Welcome one, welcome all to Screams from the Library, the show where a middle-aged, non-binary manic depressive talks only about what they like about a different horror movie each episode, because there is plenty enough negativity in the world already, and horror movies are awesome. I'm your host, Junk Shop, from the Junk Shop Library channel at Al. And today, we're talking about Mr. Brooks from 2007. I want to lead off with one quick disclaimer that would, in most other circumstances, be irrelevant. I am going to be talking about the movie Mr. Brooks. I am not going to be talking about the actors themselves as human people. I am aware, I know, this is not the place, now is not the time. Alright, so, Mr. Brooks. One of the first lines of the movie comes from the chair or director or what have you of the Portland Chamber of Commerce, talking about how he could go on and on about Earl Brooks, everything about him, how he gives so freely of his time and his money, even how he cuts his toenails. I, too, could go on and on about Mr. Brooks, even though I don't know anything more about how Earl cuts his toenails than, come to find out, Earl does. I saw this movie in theaters opening weekend in 2007. I was intrigued by the trailer. Many other people were there, too, who were intrigued by the trailer. None of us had any earthly idea what kind of movie we were walking into. The movie played itself very close to its chest, and it was reveal after reveal after what the fuck, just as it is for many of the characters. From the opening frames clean through to that what the fuck ending. The conceit of Mr. Brooks, the story, the point, the gist, is that Mr. Brooks, a very wealthy man, an entrepreneur, a good deed doers, philanthropist, thank you, is driven to kill. He is a compulsive murderer, a serial killer, truly a pathological serial killer with a signature and a modus operandus, who has baffled the police for years that we know of in his current incarnation. He is driven to kill by the incessant nagging of his invisible friend, Marshall. Marshall, with his weird cravats and his odd mannerisms and his strange slinking presence and occasional violent outbursts of lightning-fast motion and otherwise creepy reptilian stillness. Marshall, always there when he's needed, sometimes there when he's not, always more present when he's least welcome, except for the times when the opposite is the case of both of those things. If you hear strange noises in the background, it is because it has just started to rain. Hopefully it doesn't kaboom-boom thunderstorm like it did yesterday. We shall see. So, Mr. Brooks is an annoyingly sympathetic character. He is very, very human and relatable. And as a self-made, at the very least, couple of millionaire, that was as weird and off-putting as much of the rest of the movie was, even in 2007, and it's more so now. If you get curious about this movie over the course of this podcast, it is available to watch pretty much anywhere you can exchange hard-earned money for digital access. I want to talk just a minute about the opening scene of this movie. The real opening scene, after the Man of the Year Awards dinner. He's driving home with his wife, and they chit-chat and they small talk, and he is distracted, and all of a sudden, William Hurt looms up out of the shadows of the back seat and begins murmuring and whispering and cajoling in his ear. And the entire audience, at the live screening of this I saw, either jumped or gasped or yelped or some combination thereof, including a guy in the row ahead of me. He goes, "What the fuck kind of movie is this? Is that a ghost?" It's a very psychologically astute movie, and it's one that demands a certain amount of buy-in from its audience and a certain amount of psychological, I'm going to say awareness, if not education per se, from its audience. The title card, not title card, but the opening intertitle, really. The infamous white text on black screen fading in and quickly fading out. The hunger has returned to Mr. Brooks's brain. It never really left. So when William Hurt looms up out of the dark back seat of an otherwise obviously empty back seat, any of us who were already picking up on the vibes from the score and the color timing and the distracted nature of the lead performance, we get it. This is a figment of the imagination of Earl Brooks. But mainstream movie-going audiences, 2007, not quite ready. More is the pity. More is the pity, because this was supposed to be Mr. Brooks Part 1 of 3. There was going to be a trilogy. We were robbed, I say, of a trilogy. I said it was a very astute psychological movie. That comes through in so many ways, not just the writing and the acting. One of my absolute favorite things about this, I've mentioned this before online, is the color timing or color grading, depending on your preferred turn of phrase. The entire world shifts slightly in color when we see it through Mr. Brooks. In moments of neutrality, it's very neutral. In moments where he is more grounded in reality and filled with more positive emotions, it warms. It becomes yellower and redder, more golden hour tinged. When he's alone with his thoughts, or alone with Marshall, or when he is distressed, or when he is unmoored from reality, even though he may not be distressed, it gets blue. Not like nu metal video matrix infected cerulean green, blue, shifted into a weird, uncomfortable, distant, icy, crystal clear, just blue tingedness that is wildly disconcerting, especially given the beautiful, bright vibes of so much of the rest of the film. I love it. It's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's marvelous. There should be an Academy Award for the technical stuff like this that only big giant nerds like me notice. Or there should be an entire ass awards show dedicated to nerd shit. Alright, so I've gushed. The long and the short of Mr. Brooks is that he is a serial killer. He is driven back out of retirement by the relentlessness of his compulsion and its personification. And that brings him back on the radar of Demi Moore, who is the cop who was in charge of the thumbprint killer case back when Earl Brooks was active as the thumbprint killer, a serial killer of couples who photographs and poses the bodies in sensual and disconcerting ways. This pulls her away from her ongoing and incredibly acrimonious divorce proceedings, and from tying up the loose ends of the serial killer case that had just ended in the successful arrest of Meeks, the killer they call the Hangman. This then puts her at the center of a storm of swirling coincidence and plotting that puts two serial killers and their partners, knowing and unknowing, at odds with each other in a spiraling maelstrom of ever-increasing chaos and frenzy. And also, the whole thing is almost derailed end-to-end, side-to-side, upside-down and topsy-turvy by Dane Cook as a demented little weird voyeur photographer who won't let well enough alone and thinks maybe he wants to become a serial killer himself. I love this movie. It is so complicated. Every time, and I've seen this movie 15, maybe 20 times. I've got it on DVD. I've got it on digital copy. I saw it, I want to say, 2, maybe 3 times in the theater back when tickets were affordable and there was no airborne pandemic. Every time I return to this movie, which I do a couple of times a year, sometimes more, I am struck by how little I remember just how busy it is, because it is so calm most of the time. It gets real frantic a couple of times. There's a chase scene in a hallway with gunfire and exploding fluorescent lights that these days would come with a seizure warning. But most of it is dialogue and parlor room drama and plotting and scheming and preparing and cleaning up of evidence and discussions of and by real and not real people. It is so calm, so carefully paced, so deliberately plotted, that's what you remember. You remember the beauty of the color timing. You remember some very particular moments of physical acting. You remember some extraordinarily quotable lines of dialogue that it makes me annoyed every day and to this day that more people didn't see this movie because it is so fucking quotable as Mr. Brooks. Almost everybody is. Almost everybody with dialogue has at least 3 or 4 lines over the course of the movie that are zingers. Zingers. But if you start trying to plot it down on paper or describe it briefly and improvisationally to somebody who hasn't seen it, or who hasn't seen it in a while, you start remembering, oh yeah, and there was the business with the chiropractor, and there's the whole thing with the alarm clock and the sequence in the stairwell, and the side plot, the whole thing with the divorce that almost derails the entire movie for about the middle third of it. And oh right, and Professor Walsh from Buffy season 4 is in this in a beautifully restrained performance as a furiously world-weary higher-up in the police department. And you've got the subplot with the granddaughter, and how was that going to play out? You know that was going to take over part 3. You know the business with the granddaughter was going to be key, central to part 3, and we didn't get it. We didn't even get part 2. I'm so mad. I'll stay mad. The Mr. Brooks trilogy should have had a DVD box set with a 4th disc of special features, 40 minutes long apiece, and in-depth interviews with everybody from the gushed over color timer all the way up to the head stars, the director, writer, producer. It should have launched careers. What can you do? What can you do? I love this movie. It is so cleverly written. It is so tightly paced. It has such wonderful surprise cameos that some of us wouldn't know were surprise cameos until we lived with somebody who watched a lot of Critical Role, and all of a sudden, oh look, that's Laura Bailey. Laura Bailey with an inspired acting choice behind the 3 or 4 lines that she has leaning out from behind a mostly closed door, to use her eyes and a weird little quirk smile to indicate that she doesn't really mind that the police officer knows she likes to watch. It's wonderful. The whole thing is marvelous. The people who are playing straightforward, realistic, you see this all the day, every day kinds of human beings do it so beautifully and straight-lacedly and straight-facedly. And the people who are chewing the scenery and crawling the walls and walking among the stars with gods of madness do it somehow yet in such a restrained way that it still feels believable. As somebody who has a personal, long and colorful history in the mental health department, some of which I talk about online freely, some of which I do not. Here comes the rain. I like this movie for a lot of reasons. As somebody who watches a lot of horror movies, the grotesquely violent and the quiet and restrained, I like this movie for a lot of reasons. As somebody who just appreciates good fucking film, I like this movie for a lot of reasons. I could go on and on about Mr. Brooks, how he gives so generously of his, even how he cuts his toenails. But the aforementioned rain is beginning to come down and not showing much signs of getting any lighter, so me and my bag full of books are about to have to make a break for it back to the confines of a not 20 yards away from the nearest cover situation. If you've seen Mr. Brooks, let me know in the comments, whatever platform you see this on. What did you like about it? What did you hate about it? Blah, 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 shameless engagement plug. This has been the 5th episode of Screams from the Library. If you saw the first 4, listened to the first 4, keep coming back. There's more where this came from. Because horror movies are awesome. Stay safe out there, y'all.